Speaking effectively and communicating is a craft that can be perfected forever. Let's talk about this craft today. Stick around. So, in terms of communication and skills at being a great communicator, I'm sure that there's a lot of books out there that you can delve into, and the subject of communication is probably a never ending subject. I have been studying communication for a while because I want to be a good communicator. And I wanted to share a couple of my tips with you today on how you can be a good communicator, whether you're just starting out. Learning or just also perfecting your craft of being a good communicator, perhaps these tips will help you as well. So let's get right into it. So, as I mentioned earlier, communication is a craft. And if you pay attention to very influential people and how they speak, I am sure that they were not born great speakers. This is a craft that can be perfected. And if you watch the influential people, you see how great they are at communicating. Maybe not all of them, but if you watch the good ones, you see that their communication levels are up there. What I notice is that a lot of the really good communicators do one thing that's really important when you are communicating with other people, and that is listening. If you ever listen to really good podcasts or interviews with influential people, watch how when they are being asked questions, they fully listen to the entire question. Most likely they are not thinking about what they're going to say because they are focused on listening to the question. Some of these questions sometimes are very complex and long. And notice how they are listening to the question, sometimes even pausing so they could collect their thoughts, and then they respond. It is so simple and so smooth when you watch them do it, yet it does take a certain discipline and training in order to get there. Because a lot of times when we speak with other people, or especially if we're being interviewed or if we are on any type of media platform, there's a certain pressure for us to perform. So these influential people have to have a certain level of training to not let the pressure get into them and be able to compose themselves and not worry about what they're going to say, but really listen to the questions. Because when you listen to the questions, that's how you can respond to them better. If you're not listening to the question and you're worrying about what you're going to say, most likely your response is not going to be so good. So that's something to really keep in mind, is that if you're perfecting your communication craft, watch the people that you want to emulate and see how they respond to questions when they're being interviewed or when they talk to others. Another thing that I notice for myself when I talk to other people is when I talk to other people, whether it's clients or customers or, whenever I'm out and about, I try to always use the kind of language that the person will understand. So when I go to a store, I don't start talking shop talk like real estate or I don't know, entrepreneurial language or something like that. I talk in simple language, the language that that person will understand. To me, there's nothing more annoying than walking into, let's say, an appointment with like a banker or I don't know, a financial person, and they start talking in their own professional jargon. And you're sitting there thinking like, what are they talking about? Maybe they're trying to make themselves look important, or maybe they want you to think that they know their stuff. But this is really not the right way to talk to another person that's not in your field, and they're not going to understand your jargon. So stick to words that the other person will understand. Use simple language. If you watch a lot of the leaders, influential leaders, most of them don't use complicated language. Maybe if they're writing books, they will use complicated language, but most of them, they use simple language because they want the people that are watching them or listening to them to understand them and not scratch their heads and think like, what is this guy talking about, or this girl? Another trick to be a good communicator is to show compassion. When you are talking to another person, whether it's in a business setting or personal setting, show compassion to the other person. Try to put yourself in that person's shoes, no matter what their situation is, and focus on them and not on you. I think there's nothing more annoying than meeting a person who in the beginning looks and sounds really friendly, and then next thing you know, it's been 20 minutes and this person is still talking about themselves. The communication channels are supposed to be dual, so you're supposed to reciprocate everything both ways. You listen to the other person, you focus on them, and then the other person listens to you, and they focus on you. That's actually the way it's supposed to be. But when you focus on the other person, that person will appreciate the fact that you're listening to them. And then you are also going to be able to pay attention to what they're saying. So it's like a give and take kind of a situation. You know, I listen really carefully to what you're saying, and then the other person's listening to you and then responding. If that person is perhaps maybe in a difficult situation or something difficult is happening in that person's life, then you are able to even more show compassion because you're listening to that person's situation. And also, you are not only listening to that person's situation, but you are genuinely showing interest in what they have to say. And I think there's nothing worse than talking to somebody that doesn't care about what you have to say. So show a genuine interest in what that person is saying, whatever that is. Also, in order to be a really good communicator, it's really important to be honest and transparent with the person that you're talking to. I'm not talking about divulging all your deepest secrets and having like an intimate conversation from the get-go. However, if you are being thrown certain objections or questions at you and you don't know them, don't BS people and don't tell them that you know about certain things that you don't know. Just be honest, be straightforward and say you don't know. If you are talking to a client and they're asking you a question that don't know about, admit that you don't know about it, but tell them that you will find out, that you will get back to them and you will find out. You will find the information that they're looking for. You will present it to them whenever you have a chance to find this out. But don't BS people and be like, yeah, I know. That's just not going to work because people can smell fakeness from far away. So be real, be truthful, be honest in your approach with other people, and you will be perceived as a genuine, real person. I think that right now, there's so much fakeness out there in this world, fake Instagram profiles, fake pictures, fake lives, fakeness. Just people don't want to admit their weaknesses, their vulnerability. They don't want to admit certain things. And I think that right now people are starting to crave real, truthful, honest people and honest situations because there's just too much lies and fakeness out there. So be real, be yourself. You will be appreciated so much more for being real than trying to be somebody that you're not. There's only one of you out there and you are unique, and that's already a plus for you because no one can be like you. So be yourself. And the last thing, I talked about being real and being honest and putting yourself in somebody else's shoes and being compassionate. But on the other spectrum of things, don't forget to also stand up for yourself. And what I mean by that is, if you have a certain point of view that's your own and somebody doesn't agree with it in your conversation, there's no need to begin an argument, but it's important to stand up for our point of view. So if somebody doesn't agree with point of view, stand up for yourself and speak up and tell them that this is what you feel. This is how you view certain uh, things. They don't have to agree with you. We can respectfully disagree, and that's totally fine. I think we need to start learning this, that it's okay to disagree on certain subject. Not everybody has to think the same way, and I think that's fine. But also, being a good communicator, it's, I mentioned to you earlier about the influential people that are so great at listening and pausing and carrying on high pressure interviews and being on media platforms. If they are asked a certain question that is controversial or not doesn't agree with them, most likely they will have the guts to stand up and talk about how they feel. So, because that makes a good communicator. It's being cordial, it's being respectful, but it's also defending your grounds and where you stand. So don't forget about that. Don't let somebody talk you into a corner and make you yes and nod at everything they say. And then you go home and you feel like, oh my God, I should have said this, I should have said that. That's already too late. You didn't defend yourself when you had the right and time to do it. So as an example, let's say, somebody comes to your house and you have brand new floors. And it's really important for you to keep the floors intact and clean. And there are wooden floors, and you have this rule in your house that you would like for everyone to take off your shoes. And if you don't communicate that to everybody that comes into your house to take off your shoes, how are they going to know? They're not going to know. I had a friend actually like that who had brand new floors, and he really loved for people to take off their shoes, but he was afraid to tell them. He wasn't confrontational, and he wasn't communicative. He wasn't transparent with their guests. So some people did take off their shoes and some people didn't. And I asked him one day, I said, why don't you just tell this person to take off their shoes? And he told me that it's because he has brand new floors and that this person should assume to take off the shoes. This is wrong, because nobody is a mind reader. I keep always talking about this in my episodes. Nobody is a mind reader. You have to spell it out for people. You have to tell them what is it that you need. It doesn't mean you have to be nasty about it, but you have to state your grounds and your demands. If it's important for you that this person takes off their shoes, communicate that to them and say, hey, listen, I have new floors. I would appreciate if you please take off your shoes nicely, firmly. And then this person will respect you going forward for having certain standards. Nobody is going to create standards for us. It's up to us to create our own standards and demanding. We have to demand from ourselves and we have to demand from others. And that's how we get respect. And this is so important in communication. A lot of really bad communication errors are committed, you know where? They are committed among the lines of lack of enough communication. Like people are just assume, I assume, she assumed, he assumed, and next thing you know, you have like a big, huge misunderstanding. So keep it simple and keep it open and transparent with people. And that's how you become a really good communicator. So I'll end it here. Watch my next video coming up shortly. Thank you so much for watching. For more interesting content, visit my blog, caramelchic.com.